Boston Pizza harnessed Fanalytics to help optimize no-look dipping. Ooh, making adjustments so you can stay focused on the game. The playoffs at Boston Pizza, powered by Fanalytics.
Is it a must-win? You better believe it's a must-win. Game 4, Oilers Golden Knights. Let's get into it with the lead. I don't throw around the must-win term very often. When they were down 1, must-win. Even last year's when they were down 2-1 to LA, I was like, I don't know if it's quite a must-win. This feels like a must-win. I don't think you can go down 3-1 heading back to Vegas in this series. The Oilers need to win tonight. Welcome into Oilers Nation Everyday. We are live on the Oilers Nation YouTube, where our pal Kildrak is in and says, in all caps, that's how you know he means it, game day, Oilers come out hot and stay hot for the full 60. Huge Nuge goal incoming. LFG. Sebastian's in with a Let's Go Oilers as well. JT's predicting a 6-4 Oilers win. Revenge of Game 1. We are live, usually from the Sports Closet studio. Today we took it on the road at Greta, where tonight it's going to be rocking. Friday it's going to be rocking when we're throwing our watch party for the away game.
Literally, we packed it in this Greta food truck. Yep. Which is now open, by the way. I don't know if you know this.
I think we're going to be eating food.
Greta downtown, Edmonton, and now we're doing the show.
Greta in Calgary is probably going to be rocking too. I know a lot of Oilers fans have been flocking there.
There is a nation watch party going on down there. I love it.
It's great stuff. Live at Greta with a Sherwood Ford Giant Game Day edition of the show. Frank Seravalli is going to stop by actually almost right off the jump here in just a couple of minutes. He's going to join us to talk about this series, talk about the draft lottery, even talk about some of the other series going on. But first, let's see what you're all saying about tonight's game. A lot of people agreeing that tonight is a must-win game. Davin says it was bad luck we didn't score 5 in the first period last game. And hey, we're going to get to our keys to victory in a bit. But the Oilers are going to get a chance to go up against a goalie who has never made a postseason start. Adin Hill expected to go for Vegas with Laurent Brossoit out. And I think that opens the door a little bit for this Oilers team. Yeah, he's looked good in his 2 relief appearances so far, but the Oilers have not tested him nearly enough. If Edmonton can get rolling early in this hockey game and not just throw rubber at Adin Hill, like, when he came in last game, they were shooting from the point with no traffic. They were taking wrist shots from areas where you're not going to score. If they can get looks from dangerous areas, they will start to go in. I think this is a big advantage that Adin Hill is going to be going for Vegas.
Yeah, I think a big thing is, too, you got to get him moving. It felt like he just kind of had to stand in his crease the whole night, and the others didn't even do anything. There was a picture Dan showed me in the third period. He's literally, like, stretching over the crossbar. It's like, come on, like, make the guy work a little bit, make him sweat. And, yeah, there was a thing, too, in the last game. They were taking a ton of point shots, but there was nobody getting a tip on it or anything. It was just making it way too easy for Adin Hill. You got to get in his grill. He feels like a goalie that, I think Jay mentioned it when you guys were in Vegas, is a little hot-headed, right? So if you can get underneath his skin, maybe you can make him lose his cool a little bit. And that's where you got to go to the net and make it difficult for him.
Is Adin Hill a spaz? Let's talk about it.
Giant spaz. He's a giant spaz, and we got to play into that. Like, we got to – I know you guys have already broken down game 2.
Yeah.
We were in their kitchens – or sorry, game 3. We were in their kitchens after game 2, and then they came, and they are now in our kitchens. Because let's just admit, we all admitted that was a horrific performance. So terrible. We can sit there and say, yeah, whatever. Like, Adin Hill, we should – it's like this is a good thing, but, like, we need to show up. Like and I believe we will. So it's just making his life a very, very difficult time. Bodies in front, shell him. Maybe, a little nudge. Yeah, a little nudge. See what Spicy Aiden might do. Might go full Ed Belfour, take a major penalty, get Jonathan Quick in the net. Who knows? Anything's possible with that guy. But we have to go and put in an effort to make his life difficult.
I don't want to discredit what he's done because he's actually had a pretty good season.
Yeah, he's got like a 9.15 or whatever. He's a solid goalie.
He is the third string goalie on this team, no?
Logan Thompson,
Brossoit, Adin Hill.
Yeah.
Make him look like a third string. I think he's a little bit better than that, but he is their third option, really.
Yeah. That's fair. Between the pipes for the Oilers, a lot of people, and I mean, hey, we threw a poll yesterday on the show. We said, who would you start, Campbell or Skinner? 55% said Skinner, 45% said Jack Campbell. The only voice that matters in all of this is Jay Woodcroft, and it seems like he's going to be going with Stuart Skinner. He was in the starter's crease yesterday. He was in the starter's crease today as the team had an optional skate. Jay, do you like the decision to go back with Stu tonight?
Of course you go with Stu. The reason why Stu is getting pulled from games is not necessarily all him, although I'd like him make him make that White Cloud save, or sorry, stop.
The White Cloud stop, definitely.
That was doable, but we played so bad in front of him. Like, you pull out Skinner in that game to try to get the boys going, just like they did in LA to put Campbell in to get the boys going, except for the first time it worked. The second time it didn't. It's still Skinner's net. We have not played well, and he lost us a game. If we just play decent, he will be fine, and he will make big saves. And sure, maybe one, we will always want him to, maybe make that stop in a game, but he does make continual big saves. I don't know, I'm having a tough time pronouncing. Probably too high on caffeine. No, normally I'm a 2-cup-a-day guy. Today I've had 3, so I'm
3 cups of coffee already.
Yeah, it gets the anxiety up, so I'm having a tough time enunciating because I'm just so excited and motivated for tonight. Anywho, Skinner's net.
I agree. Skinner's net. Maybe if tonight is similar, you debate going to Campbell to give you a spark. I just wouldn't do it. I think you got to keep going with Stu because, like you said, when the Oilers have played well in front of him, he's done enough for them to win. You've
kind of just got to play your best available roster every night in the playoffs too, right? And I think Stuart Skinner gives you the best opportunity to win. And like Jay said, he didn't lose the Oilers that game.
Nope.
The Oilers lost that game themselves, and Skinner could only do so much. Right before he had that huge save on March or so. And it's even stuff like when Campbell got I can't remember. It was a goalie interference, whoever scored.
Yeah.
And then the Oilers couldn't even get anything going after that. And they scored, 15, 20 seconds later? It was just kind of the way the night went, and I don't blame any of it on Skinner.
We just need to stop laying absolute eggs. It's happened. It's going to happen once in a while, but there's somewhat a rhythm or pattern to it. And that's just that just needs to stop. We figure that out. Then who cares who's in net?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, honestly.
It is a loaded edition of the show. Sherwood Ford Giant Game Day. We'll get to lineup notes and keys to victory. We're going to give away some Nation gear a little bit later on in the show. But first, our pal Frank Seravalli is here for Star Mechanical, starmechanical.ca, Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. And Frank Seravalli was locked in a room by the NHL. No phone, no smartwatch. I asked him to wear a wire so I could hear what was going on, and he declined that. Frank, what was your experience like at the NHL draft lottery?
It was interesting. I could say that. It was way more intense than I thought, being in the room with the ping pong balls and lots of idle chatter. So if I was wearing a wire, I'm trying to think of what the conversation. So I was sequestered for about 90 minutes to 2 hours with Commissioner Bettman and a few others. So we chatted about a whole bunch of stuff. He asked me who I like in the playoffs. I told him that my pick was the Oilers to win the cup. We talked about the games.
What was his answer?
Australia. He just nodded.
Okay.
He doesn't root, so he doesn't. There's no dog in the fight.
Fair enough. You talked about the games in Australia. And then the thing I like the most is the part in your story on Daily Faceoff of him holding up different newspapers throughout, at the beginning to make sure it's confirmed what the date is. But it's intense, right, Frank? It's a legal process almost, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of the amazing part where I see the reaction from people on social media. And look, I get it. Part of that's just the world that we live in. I understand fully. My wife is an anti-vaxxer. I get the whole 9 yards. But this is it's a bridge too far because you think about, all the things that go into this. Is Gary Bettman, after 30 plus years on the job, is he really going to stain his reputation, open the league up to antitrust lawsuits over skimming Connor Bedard to someone else? What's in it for him? It makes no sense. And I can tell you, having watched all of it with my own eyes, that there's nothing illegitimate about this process whatsoever. As people have made the argument before, if there really was a process that was rigged, no offense, guys, but Connor McDavid would not be in Edmonton.
Yeah, 100%. That is the shining example of this whole thing, is that they sent Connor McDavid, the best player we've seen in however many years, to Edmonton. With that being said, not rigged, no conspiracy. there had to have been a few execs behind the scenes at the NHL, just from a financial perspective, kind of going like, yes, when it was Chicago who got him and not Columbus or Anaheim, right?
Not to my knowledge. Like, there was not one word, there was not one smirk, there was not one like eyebrow raised. It is like quite literally business as usual. And you have to remember, there's other people in the room, including some team representatives. Like, this is a completely sterile process. Like, they kind of gave me some ground rules when I walked in. It's like, we're going to collect your phone. There's no communication with the outside world. You are not essentially not to speak, and you're just a fly on the wall observing the process. And that's the process that I've observed was completely surgical in terms of its approach and precision.
And I was probably being a little bit too like tongue in cheek there and whatever, but like him going to a big US market, that's good for the game though, right? Like it's good for revenues. It's good for him to be somewhere where, hey, basically an hour after the lottery balls fall and it's announced to the public, they got what, $2.5 million in season ticket revenue?
I think it was over 10 million in new season ticket revenue yesterday alone. So it's crazy, the reaction, and like it is good for the game. This is a huge market, and I think it's also symbolic in some ways of them passing the torch in their franchise from Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews right on to now Connor Bedard. Obviously, those guys are not coming back. They're franchise icons, and they needed that sort of bridge that a lot of teams, frankly, just don't get. And the Blackhawks, even though their attendance was higher than many people had expected it to be this year, they had sort of fallen into the abyss, or were going to begin to fall into the abyss this next season with a bare bones roster that was looking to get the best draft picks possible. Now, I think they're probably going to struggle a little bit more for the next couple of years, but they're now beginning the process of building up instead of tearing down, which when you can get a player of that caliber, you've achieved the hardest part of this process, which is landing that, super duper star.
Got anything draft related, Liam?
Yeah, I got one for you, Frank, and it's probably the most intriguing prospect in the draft besides Bedard, but Michkov is probably a top 3 talent, and I don't think anyone truly knows where he's going to land. Is there a sense that this guy could maybe fall out of the lottery selection too because of his KHL contract, or do you think he'll get taken before then?
So I think he's the big mystery and drama that now surrounds draft night. Like, we kind of know now, Liam, that Bedard is going 1 to Chicago, Fantilli very likely 2 to Anaheim. And then the big question now is not who goes 3, it's who has, the balls the size of a dump truck to take this guy who could be the second best talent in the draft. But you're dealing with the contract issue, as you mentioned, not able to come over to the NHL until I think 2026 or 2027 at the earliest. And then also the socio-political of what's happening in our world right now as it relates to Russia. Will there be the same path that exists? Will Russia, which has now stood in the way of other prospects and draft picks from coming over to the U.S. or North America, will someone, basically have the courage to pick a guy that they likely or may not even be in the same position as GM by the time that person comes to the NHL and is ready to make an impact? Like, that's a big bet to make if you're a general manager who you're supposed to have the best interests of the franchise at heart. But it's always also like, well, how do we make this team better so that I can keep my job and show progress? You might not have anything to show for a long time.
That's a good point.
Well, let's put our tinfoil hats on for a second. Like, if there's one person that can circumnavigate this, and I've said this on Nation Real Life, it's Alexander Ovechkin. So, like, why wouldn't Washington take the stab?
First off, I thought we just took our tinfoil hats off.
No, I don't. Did I say take them off?
You say, we took them off about the draft lottery.
Let's put them on.
Yeah, you want to put them back on.
Let's put them on and talk about this. Like, that's a guy, like, I know remove obviously the atrocities and all this crazy stuff that's going on in our world, but if there's a guy that has any pull
to get him out of that
KHL deal because of who he is, it's him.
I agree, and that makes sense, but it also then the other part of the Matvey Michkov draft saga is that no one's had actual NHL eyeballs on this guy in like years, like literally live in-person viewings. If you do not have an NHL employee that's a scout that lives in Russia, you can't enter to go watch him play, and they're not playing anywhere else. You can watch all the video you want, but for someone at that prime of a position to draft, you better be really certain. And none of the true decision makers have had eyeballs on that. So, like, it's great if you think Alex Ovechkin can help you, which I'm sure he has some, like, quite literal sway and pull. But if you're Brian McClellan and you don't have a scout there, are you willing to pull the trigger having not seen him yourself?
This is where Ovechkin actually has command over the franchise because Ted Leonosis, that's his boy.
Yeah. It'll be interesting, but it's playoff time. I'm done with the draft talk. Let's table it. Let's talk about what's going on tonight just down the road at Rogers Place. Oilers, Golden Knights, Game 4. Frank, like when we talked before this series, it was Edmonton can win. They're the better team. They just have to not shoot themselves in the foot. And you look at games 1 and 3, and that's exactly what they did. Like, in a way, it's a wildly predictable first 3 games of this matchup.
I think that's what's so frustrating from an Oiler perspective is it doesn't have to be. And I think you actually like quoted me verbatim in terms of shooting yourself in the foot, because that's really been the penchant for this Oilers team going back to not just round 1, but also at varying points last year in the playoffs, that you're kind of like, guys, when will you grow up and get it? If that makes any sense, you continue to make the same mistakes over and over again. And that's sort of the tough thing to swallow, is that the margin for error becomes really thin. Like, I like the Kings, and I thought that the way that they approached the series was really smart, but Vegas has pieces that can kill you. And if you continue to open the door and you continue to make mistakes, pretty soon you find yourself in a position where you can't dig your way out of. You can't McDavid and Draisaitl it, to get back into play. And, that takes its toll. Are the Oilers obviously still very much in it? Of course. I expect them to be significantly better tonight. And I expect to see, I don't think we're going to get another game in the series where McDavid and Draisaitl are both held off the score sheet. But that said, it's not just about 97 and 29. Tyler, I made the point earlier today on Daily Faceoff Live, like, if the Canes and the Seattle Kraken can get depth scoring, where is 100-point guy Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and why doesn't he have a goal so far in these playoffs? And I know you guys love him, and that's great, but this is an incredibly disappointing playoff for him. And really, when you take out the maybe one signature moment that he had on last year's run, and it would have been in the Battle of Alberta, where is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins in the playoffs? Because the games that matter most and the moments that matter most, he seems to come up small. And it's not just him, so I'm not singling him out, but the rest of the team, where's the depth scoring that you need to be competitive? If Jordan Martinook can score 9 points in 4 playoff games, where are the rest of the guys on the Oilers? And so it's that coupled with the mistakes that they continue to make on their back end, where it's an awful turnover from Vinny Desharnais or Evan Bouchard struggling and catching an edge, and Darnell Nurse standing in front of the net looking around to nowhere. Like, there have been mistakes after mistakes that are all self-inflicted, that this team is good. They're loaded. They're ready to go. But it's hard enough to beat other teams in this league if you also have to beat yourself in the process.
I think that's a great point. And I mean, you mentioned Nuge and said, it's not just him, because Evander Kane has been wildly inconsistent in these playoffs. Zach Hyman, aside from scoring a goal that went off his face, has been largely invisible in these playoffs. It's been too many nights where way too many passengers. And as you said on the blue line too, nights where, whether it's Ceci, Desharnais, Nurse, whoever, there's 3 or 4 D-men that aren't doing their jobs to their fullest on any given night. And it's just, that's what's frustrating about this group, is they'll do that, and then the next night they'll go out and they'll look great. And it's part of the reason I'm fully expecting a win. This team hasn't lost back-to-back games, you guys, since February 25th and 27th. And I also think, Frank, there's a little bit of, they're not playing their best hockey. They haven't played their best hockey yet in these playoffs through 9 games. If it clicks, this team is borderline unstoppable. If it clicks, no one that's left in the playoffs can beat these guys.
I agree with you. And Jay, one thing that you always talk about is superpowers. And the Oilers have 2 incredible superpowers that no one else has. The problem is, I think there's a bit of overconfidence in that, knowing that you have that in your back pocket, that there's this idea that, hey, we can take a night off and we'll figure it out. And you begin, like I said, to flirt with disaster if you do that one too many times. You can't back yourselves into a hole. And could the Oilers win this series if they're down 3-1? They could. I would say the odds are significantly stacked against them that this game, I think, decides their season and their Stanley Cup hopes. If they're down 3-1, I have a hard time believing that they're going to beat Vegas 3 straight to end it.
Are you nervous now?
Well, no, but you're not wrong, right? It's just like in LA, right? Yep. If, we didn't pull that comeback off, like that series easily was going the other way. And then, that playoff saving save against Arvidsson kept us in. And then we found our game on back-to-back nights finally and put away the Kings. Like, we just need consistency. That's the thing, that's frustrating, is you go to watch game 1 and somehow stay in it but play horrific, and then game 2 they blow the doors off them, and then game 3 we don't show up. So the minute these guys decide to put a consistent effort is the minute then we can start mounting towards a deep run.
Yeah, absolutely. Frank, before we let you go, because it's been almost 20 minutes here, we've gone around, covered a lot. But the Toronto Maple Leafs, if they don't win tonight, how big are the changes going to be this summer? Seismic?
Bye, Mitchie.
I would say seismic. I mean, I make this argument all the time with, remember we were talking about some of the bad teams in the league, whether it's this year at the trade deadline or last year, and it's, should the San Jose Sharks trade Erik Karlsson or Tomas Hertl or Timo Meier, whoever it is, and you're like, guys, they're not winning with those guys. Like, why? Like, you're in 28th place. Why would you keep them? That's kind of the same sort of argument that I would make with the Leafs now, is we're beyond having enough evidence of now 7 failed playoff runs and 1 likely, I put in quotes likely, because they're still alive. The body still has a pulse of lack of success. And you can't be in that spot where you are not taking advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you. Someone slayed the best team in the league, historic team in wins and points in the first round, opening up your path, and you finally break through and win a series. And to come out like this against the 8th seed, I can understand things happen in a playoff series and some flukes and bad bounces. But when you get outworked the way that the Toronto Maple Leafs did on Sunday in Game 3 in Florida, and your big guns, the guys that account for 50% of your salary cap, your core 4, throw up donuts on the board this series, I'm sorry, it's unforgivable. And to bring that same group back again next year, there's clearly something missing to me. And I think the biggest thing is, Brendan Shanahan used this word last year. We need killers. They need killers. They need people that actually have a fire in their belly, and I don't see any of it from any of the Leafs.
I'm a big fire guy, Frank. Now, obviously, JT can't be the one that they move on, I think, in my opinion.
Well,
so
who would take John?
Well,
Flores,
exactly.
Right?
So which one is it? Is it Austin or is it Mitchie?
I think you got to have a real serious conversation with Austin Matthews. Do you want to be here? And if so, what's your cap number? Because I made this point on Monday saying, look, Austin Matthews, he has a superpower. We just talked about superpowers. That ability to score is, when he's on, is kind of second to none in this league. The swagger that he has, that you saw for another glimpse in the first round, scoring twice in that comeback, another huge goal. Finally, the signature playoff moment for Matthews. but what's it going to cost you? He's already been paid a significant premium at $11.6 million. Like David Pastrnak has, I think, been just as good, if not more consistent, as Austin Matthews over the last number of years. And he signed a new long-term deal for 11 and a quarter. So I said before, I don't think you can pay Austin Matthews 1 penny more than what Nathan MacKinnon got, which is 12.6. I'm going to revise that and say I don't think you can pay him more than what David Pastrnak got. That's the market setter. And Pastrnak and Nathan MacKinnon didn't make anywhere near the coin that Austin Matthews already pocketed on a 5-year deal. So my big thing is, first, you need to figure out who the general manager is, because I think there is a sneaking suspicion out there that if Kyle Dubas isn't back, that Austin Matthews might not want to be. And then on top of that is, what's he going to cost relative to cap? Because if he wants the sun, the moon, and the stars, he'll get it on the open market, and that's his leverage. But I don't think the Leafs can build their team around a player that has been missing the fire. You can have a superpower, but if you don't have the intensity and the will to win, it's not going to matter.
Well, just Clayton Keller 2 firsts and Austin over to Arizona. There we go.
Look at that, Jay.
If
Dubas walked, you might get an interview.
You think so?
If Matthews is extended, oh yeah.
Oh, Keller and 2 firsts? Okay.
I love that we're doing this.
Yeah.
But, maybe a conversation for another day.
That's off-season content.
Yeah, that's off-season content. Frank, appreciate you hopping on, man. Enjoy the 2 big games tonight.
Enjoy Regretta Bar. Hope the party is hopping tonight. And for you Blue Jays Nation guys, look, I got the best day going. I'm going to head out. The Jays game starts in Philly at 2 p.m. Mountain. And I will be back home and ready to roll for both playoff games tonight without missing.
Oh, that's a nice day.
I am very jealous of you, actually. That is great. Well, you enjoy that ball game, Frank. Thanks for hopping on.
See you guys.
There you go. Frank Seravalli for Star Mechanical. If you need 24/7 emergency repair, boom, Star Mechanical. They always have you covered.
Pow.
They can hook you up.
Wow.
There it is.
Also, AMA Travel Out of Town scoreboard tonight. Toronto, Florida. Man, we got... Tonight is a staple your behind to the couch and do not leave for 6 hours kind of night.
Yeah, AMA can take you to a nice vacation in Florida. Don't worry about this game.
Fair enough. Yeah, just 2 games on the AMA Travel Out of Town scoreboard, and then tomorrow night we have another couple as Carolina can put away the Devils and Seattle.
That was a second period last night.
Seattle and Dallas. That is down to a best of 3. That's interesting.
That's
Dallas made a statement last night, I think.
They did. But also, like you could say the night before, Seattle made a statement.
Yeah, sure. Momentum really doesn't carry over from game to game. And I think that series is a good example of it.
Ours
Edmonton, Vegas is a great example of it. I mean, you go out and you lose 6-4 in game 1. You follow it up and the game's over within 10 minutes. And then last night, the final 30 minutes is just nothing but garbage time. So it's wild to see the way how many of these games have been blowouts. I think the stat is like through 14 games in the second round, 6 or 7 of them have been decided by 3 or more goals.
A lot of people are complaining about the second round not being as good as first, which is normally always the case. The first round NHL playoffs is like the best thing ever. Yeah. But the fact that, they haven't been like battles, they've just been blowouts either way. It's kind of losing a little bit of the entertainment factor. Now, me as an Oilers fan, it's driving my stress level up.
Yep.
I think this kind of happened last year too, didn't it? Like we finished
it's a normal
in
thing.
5, and yeah, there you go.
And then
Calgary in 5, Tampa Bay swept Florida, Colorado went 6, and the Rangers and Carolina went 7. So half the series were done within 5 games.
Yep,
it's not unusual.
And then usually there's one conference final that's good and one that's not.
We had that.
Well, there you go. 4-0 against Edmonton last season, Colorado, and then Tampa beat the Rangers 4-2.
And the Cup Finals of battle.
Yeah.
It's a Sherwood Ford Giant game day ahead of game 4 between the Oilers and Golden Knights at Sherwood Ford. They like rewarding you for being a fan. If you go in for an oil change and you got a playoff flag on your vehicle, $10 off. Shout out to our friends at Sherwood Ford. The Giant, let's get to our keys to victory and give away a little bit of Nation gear. I got a couple locked and loaded, but I'll take this one. The Oilers' big guns. It's bounce back time. Mm-hmm. I know the depth is important. I know Stuart Skinner's important. I know having the blue line, getting on the right track is important. But Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl were both held off the score sheet last game. And if they're pissed off and hungry and motivated and can find that higher gear, that gear that separates those two from every other player that's left in these playoffs, every other player on the planet, then the Oilers are probably going to find success tonight.
I think the reason we always say that depth is important is because we assume McDavid and Draisaitl are just buzzing. But if they're not buzzing, then you can't just rely on the bottom six to kind of go at it, right? Like those guys have got to be going every and those two the other night, frankly, weren't. So I'd be curious to see what they actually do with them tonight, if they're going to split them up or not. But I do think that depends on the health of Zach Hyman.
And the other thing too, and we talked about this, was it on this show or ONR, where we talked about the leadership of this team a little bit? And it was with Belzy, actually. Yeah, it was with Belzy, and how, it's not a coach's job to motivate the team. When a team isn't motivated, though, I think you can look at the leadership group. And last game, we love Leon Draisaitl. Historic playoffs. He didn't look interested. He didn't look motivated. Connor McDavid wasn't moving that well. Those two set the tone for this team, both physically, both with the style of play and everything. I want a Connor McDavid Game 7 against LA moment where he went and steamrolled Sean Durzi, and it was the most physically engaged game I've seen the Oilers play maybe ever. Go set the tone if you're McDavid and Draisaitl. That's my giant key to victory.
Well, that is the key. But just to add a layer to it, it's just, and this goes against the whole team, just work. Like, we didn't show up last game. We had one line that kind of did. They got a goal. That was great. But just everywhere else, it was just, we were still in Vegas.
Yeah.
And like, that's just frustrating. It's playoff hockey. You should already be motivated. So just come into the building tonight, puck drops, and get to work.
I think mine will be respond, but in a way of like, if we score, don't just stand there and expect Vegas not to come at you right away. Like, we're allowing quick goals, or if like someone's coming across, like hit them. Just be like physically involved in it all and just be engaged for the 60 minutes, even if you are down, whatever it is, right? Just like keep pushing, show some fight in the battle. And I feel like that last game that was lost quite far.
It's like Vegas dictated the physicality of Game 3, and we did it in Game 2. Like, where's the disconnect? It's just, anyways. On to Game 4. Who cares? Show up tonight. It's a series tied 2-2. Game 5. Keep rolling. Let's go.
Let's get to what you're all saying in the chat. Taylor C is in. Key to the game. Keep the crowd behind you with a line-for-line effort. All 12 got to be rolling tonight. And yes, I do believe it is going to be all 12. Touch on that in just a second. Dre is in and says, play like the Oilers, the offensive powerhouse. Draw penalties. Don't give them away because of emotions. It's good that we have the grit, but we can't fall for Vegas's game plan. And I really like that one as well. Play hard, play fast like you did to start Game 2. The Golden Knights will take penalties.
Yes.
Hopefully the refs call those penalties, because you probably deserve 3 power plays in the first period of Game 1, but we'll again table that off to the side. But force the Golden Knights into taking penalties and let your strengths be your strengths in a way.
Better 5-on-5.
Better 5-on-5, sure.
Yeah, get your feet moving. Cause like a trip or something, right? Like make the refs make a call that's completely obvious.
We didn't move.
Yeah, like a high stick.
Yeah.
But you can't, like, people who were bitching about the officiating last game, like,
were 100% correct, because it absolutely affected the outcome of the game.
Oh, really? That affected their effort level. They came out flat.
Period.
That was not because of penalty that didn't get called 20 minutes down the road. Oilers did not show up in that game. So you can't hang your hat on just solely officiating. Sure.
Not solely, but it was number
Vegas,
1 on the list.
Yeah, but Vegas was going to outwork us anyways. No, that should be number 3 on the list. Number 1 is we didn't show up.
Agree to disagree.
So you think we won the game if they make that call? You think with how we were playing and how Vegas was playing, that we were just somehow going to be better?
I think the Oilers didn't fight through that adversity well at all, but there's no denying that the adversity was the first domino that fell. The non-calls, and there was 3, maybe even 4 of them, and one of them was a missed high stick where Vegas scored 12 seconds after. The Oilers didn't fight through the adversity, but the number 1 domino was the officiating being poor.
We didn't show up, man.
We didn't show up.
We were going to lose that game regardless.
What do we got going on here? Murray is in. Key to the game. Early lead, but hold it this time. Bounce back game for Skinner as well. Cameron is in and says, for the love of God, do not let Vegas get comfortable. Be a pest. Get them upset. Force them to make mistakes, just like Game 2. Throwing some names here in the draw for that shirt right there that our boy Liam is rocking. The hashtag #ONOilUpPlayoff tee. You can get yours at nationgear.ca. The Juggler is in and says the key to victory is getting the top 6 back on track. And I would actually agree with that one as well. And Jay Gonzalez, key to victory, shoot the puck and hammer Aiden Hill. Absolutely. You need to make his life as difficult as possible. We got some names in the draw for our Giant Keys to Victory. We are spinning the wheel right now. Jay, who are you rooting for?
William Squires.
You said that because it was stopping on William Squires'
No,
hand.
because Squire.
It does fit in.
Yes, come on.
Shout out to William Squires.
And
You're
like
our
the
winner.
NHL lottery, this is not rigged.
This is not rigged. I spin a wheel live right here. William Squires, you're our winner. Tyler at Oilersnation.com. Shoot me an email, and we'll get it all sorted out, and we will get you that hashtag ONOilUp playoff tee. So shoot me an email, and congratulations. Hopefully you enjoy the shirt. Riley's in. Shoot from the parking lot. Kyle the Embomber agrees with me. If we get the power play from that high stick, we are up by 2. Probably.
And then we give it all away.
It changed the trajectory of the game. It's
Hit the post twice in the first period, too.
hit the post twice in the first period. There's a lot of things in that first period that didn't go their way, and they caved in the second. Their first period wasn't brutal.
The first half of the first period. And then yeah, if they were really able to get 2 or 3 when we were doing that barrage, maybe we get in their heads, but Vegas was moving. We were not moving.
Yeah,
We didn't move.
Yeah, we said yesterday the only player who looked mildly interested in playing in that hockey game was Warren Fogle. So hopefully the Oilers get a little bit more out of him. Let's get into our lineup report for our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant, because we do have some things to watch when it comes to the way the Oilers are going to line up this evening. We don't know whether it's going to be, let's start at the top, McDavid and Draisaitl. I think separate them. It's time to split them up. It's time to give Vegas a bit of a different look. And I think those 3, when you include Evander Kane, have not been good enough in their own end of the ice either. So listen, it's a weird time to be doing this, but I do think McDavid and Draisaitl love playing together. I know they love playing together. And I think this has to be a little bit of Woody saying, you two, if you want to play together, we need more.
Yep.
Can't have a game where you're a goose egg in the offensive zone. If you want us to have you guys together as the nuclear option, you need to produce and you need to play good defense. And flat out, they didn't do it in game 3. That's fine. I think splitting them up also gives Bruce Cassidy a little bit of a different kind of game plan to have to try to defend against. So I would have them split up.
Just pair them up when needed.
Yeah,
right. Like you put it out there when you get good matchups, or
after an icing, after a PK.
And so yeah, I don't mind splitting them up to make it a little bit more hectic for Vegas. And then figuring out like Hyman, you got to assume he didn't do morning skate. I'm assuming this morning
Did not take the optional.
That to me just looks like a raging Charlie horse. What he got, so that doesn't feel good.
Yeah, no, it doesn't feel good when a guy gets his knee 6 inches off, or puts his skate 6 inches off the ice to knee you as you try to avoid check.
They got tied up. That's what they said on the broadcast.
If I was making the lines tonight, I think what I would do, assuming health for Hyman, I think I go McDavid, Nuge, Hyman, Draisaitl, Kane, Fogle as my top 6.
Say Fogle?
Yeah. And then I would have
Fogel's putting in the work.
And then I would have Kostin, Bukestad, and Janmark, and McLeod, Ryan, and Yamo. So it's an awkward flip having to put either Yamo or Ryan on the left side, probably Derek Ryan at that point. But that's the way I think I would go about doing it.
I think Yamo and Kostin together can cause havoc.
Yeah, so you know what? I would do that then. I would go Kostin, Bukestad, or Kostin, McLeod, Yamo. And then I would go Derek Ryan, Matthias Janmark. And
then you got speed, you got aggressive forecheck, you got some meat, you got a guy who can shoot.
Yeah, I don't hate that idea either.
But like that Fogle, McLeod, Ryan line was...
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Like
they did a really good job against the Eichel line, I thought, in game 2, actually.
It's annoying that Jack had a night.
And they don't even they're not great defensively. They just play hard and quick.
Yeah.
Like they just play a very simple style of hockey, and that's kind of what the Oilers need to do as a whole. Yep. And they were able to get that goal last game by literally driving to the net.
I don't hate I don't hate Bukestad with Derek Ryan and Matthias Janmark. That feels like a dependable D-zone only line, and then you'd have McLeod, Yamo, Kostin as your high-octane offense line.
Yeah.
I kind of like the Bukestad, Kostin, and Yamo line as just like a hard forechecking line.
That too.
Just crush you.
Yeah. Someone actually put a decent idea in here. Is pass the sauce. If Janmark is back, why not reunite Kostin, Janmark, and Nuge? Remember, they had a really good run together at one point this season.
Yeah.
But then, what's the rest of that look like? If Nuge isn't going to be used as a top 6 winger, how do you handle who plays with McDavid and Draisaitl then? maybe you want to elevate a Ryan McLeod to play wing. I don't know if I love that
Hyman
idea.
on his off wing, which he likes.
Yeah, he does like being there. Be interesting to see how Jay Woodcroft handles his forward group. The D-core is expected to stay the same. I think it was Gregor reporting that both Janmark and Hyman should play, and Broberg likely to draw out. I would love to see Kulak and Ceci get flipped, but I'm fully acknowledging that a Ceci-Desharnais pairing could be bad news. So I think Woodcroft has no choice but to keep these 6 exactly the way they are.
The CC thing for me is interesting because, like we spoke about it yesterday, he's a guy in the playoffs last season who was very reliable.
Yeah.
Had the big goal in Game 7 for us, too.
Yeah.
It was just like kind of a guy you never spoke about because he didn't really do anything wrong. And the big errors last game just came from, like, brain farts, honestly. Like, the play broke down on the White Cloud goal, and he just kind of stood there and allowed White Cloud to run in. Well, the play's already gone, the setup that you wanted defensively, so just try and attack the guy and do something at least. And then the one goal, it was the first goal, just allowed Marchessault to come in and not do anything.
We let them just march out in front
Yep.
uncontested. Like it was, and that happened so many times.
And yeah, 100%. So for me, CC, all he needs to do is just like play smart. Like if you see a guy that just try and push him and nudge him off his balance a little bit, and just you don't have to do anything that's out of the ordinary. If it's just use your brain.
Well, what drives me, and I can't remember who, but what drives me nuts about the first Marchessault goal, it was just we made just a hilarious bad giveaway in the neutral zone that turned into them going into the zone. It just trickles down from like it's collective brain farts. And I think it was a defenseman. I can't remember which one, but likely Nurse actually, if Cece's on the ice. So anyways, just simple plays when you're in duress. Like, I don't know what, like we're trying to chase, just simple plays when you're in duress, make plays when you've got time and space. Just fucking play like the Oilers, for God's sakes.
Yeah, and that's Squishy's in and says line swapping won't matter if the Oilers don't play hard.
They got to show up.
100%.
Show up.
They got to show up. If
Show
they
up
show
and win. That's the thing. We come play hockey. Vegas won't win.
If they show up and do what they have done in a couple of points here, like you could play whoever together. And actually, that's more or less what they do.
That's a good
when they're
thing.
Playing well. Is they have 10 different line combos that all play a minute together.
That's the whole thing. Like, we know they're going to show up tonight. Like, let's move on to Game 5. Who are we going to be in Game 5?
Yeah. It sounds like Stuart Skinner's going to be getting the start tonight. I saw JB asked about that in the chat. So he was in the starters net at morning skate. That usually means it's going to be your net for the game. So Stuart Skinner expected to start this evening. The lines for the Vegas Golden Knights expected to be the same as last game, but with Aiden Hill making his first career NHL postseason start. You can throw this one up, actually, Aaron. The line that was a thorn in their side, Eichel, Marchessault, and Barbashev were really damn good in Game 1. And there actually are some numbers that point to the Oilers' third line of McLeod, Ryan, and Fogle played them excellently on the road.
Yeah.
In those first 2 games, that third line of the Oilers stifled the top line of the
There's your
Golden Knights.
matchup.
I wonder if Woody maybe hunts down that matchup a little bit more tonight if he runs with McLeod, Fogle, and Ryan together again.
Marchessault is a dog. Like he's feisty and he gets into those areas that we saw it. And finally, like that's the thing that game woke him up, which is unfortunate, right? We were doing a good job keeping him quiet. He's been quiet for a lot of the playoffs. That game woke him up, so now he's going to be feeling it. So it's even more important that we shut that line down because we gave him a little bit of momentum. So we have to stop it before it can turn into anything.
Anna is in and says, no more fancy passes, hammer that puck. And early in that game, the Oilers were just trying for the home run feed every single time. And it was getting picked off. Can't do that.
It's easy to defend if that's what they're doing.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Tyler Mulick, Marchessault scoring is not good if he gets hot. Yeah, you don't want that guy hot. He's scored big goals in playoff runs. Troy is in and says, we need a bigger presence from Pissy Leon. Sure, absolutely. Let's get into some numbers for tonight. Brought to you by Boston Pizza and their Fanalytics menu.
I'm so hungry. I'd love some. All of it.
The Oilers coming off losses. They have not lost back-to-back games since February 25th and 27th. That means...
Which I don't like.
Yeah.
Why?
Anyways.
Why don't you like that? Because you think they're due for back-to-back losses?
Well, it's just, there's just math. Like, it's not, nothing's, constant outside of gravity, death, taxes.
Okay.
And you eating a lasagna on your drive home, driving to work.
Hey, you were with me on my driving to work the other day.
What did we do? Stopped in and he had to get a bite to eat while he was driving.
Yeah, well,
I witnessed it.
That means the last 6 times the Oilers have lost, they've bounced back with a win.
Yes.
I take that as a positive. This team's very good at just parking whatever happened in the last game and saying, okay, we know what we need to do better here tonight. In those games, they've outscored the opposition 28 16. So that means on average, they're outscoring the other team by 2 goals when they're coming off a loss.
Yeah. I just hope they're not like resting on that laurel, you know?
No, and they
like,
shouldn't.
Just come out like you got to go and earn that.
It's the playoffs. It's totally different.
And I totally expect them to do that. Like, but just go to work, guys. Go to work.
Yep. Stuart Skinner in the last game when he got yanked against the LA Kings. It was obviously that big comeback victory. He allows 3 goals on 11 shots that game. Follows it up by stopping 25 of 28 the next game out. So we'll see how Stuart Skinner responds after being pulled for the second time in this playoff run as well. Let's talk a little betting here, gentlemen.
Let's go. Manifest destiny.
Yes. Shout out to Betway 19 plus. Please play responsibly. I think we're doing a little squad ride here for our Betway Game Day Big Bets Challenge.
It's hard not to because if the Oilers to win, like this is what's going to happen. This is what happens. So why not bet on it and make some money?
Yeah, it's like what was the thing you said before? Death, taxes, entirely in the lasagna.
Yeah.
This feels like the 4th step.
Aaron, flash up the board for what we're doing for our bets here this evening. We are all going. Last time we did this, it won as well. Last time we squad bet and all picked the same bet, it won.
I like it because I like it. It's a concerted focus, and that's what I like. That the universe picks up on that.
Oilers win. Draisaitl 2+ points. The guy was held off the board, the hottest scorer in the NHL, the hottest player on the planet, the hot bitch himself, Leon Draisaitl, did not get a point. He is so due for a bounce back. This Oilers team is due for a bounce back and a +140 payout. Betway, we're taking it all day.
And the thing is, too, he's the one who hit the post twice in the first period the other night. So this would have hit then, too. But, yeah, this one's my ride or die, and I'm glad we're all on this one together because it's inevitable. If the Oilers win, Draisaitl's going to do this.
I just wish I was the first one in the group chat to suggest it. Yes. I like when someone wants to ride with me. I just I thought of it in the shower this morning. I just didn't act fast enough.
The board says Liam is 3-44. He's not. He's just normal 3-4.
I'm actually leading the way.
You are. You were the only one up money because Jay and I are both down.
My big fingers just sometimes double tap.
Yeah. I'm also sprinkling a little. The chat's talking about this right now. Maybe just a little sprinkle on a Nuge goal at +240.
I mean, it's
so due. I've lost so much money on this one.
It's due. Yeah, just come on, Nuge, man. We need you.
You see what the chat's saying about you being 3-44? You need to stop betting, bro.
Stop betting. I bet responsibly, so it's all good.
Ryan Sharp says the Fab 3 with the sweet bet. Yeah, we're riding together on this one. I'd love to see. Let's make it the Oilers Nation Everyday bet of the game.
Bet of the game.
All right. Big one tonight. Greta is going to be rocking this evening. So if you need a spot to watch Game 4, this is the place. If you need a spot to watch Game 5, we are throwing our big party here on Friday. Go to gretabar.com to reserve a table. We're going to be giving away prizes. We're going to be doing some draws, all that good stuff.
Great food, too, at Greta.
We're sitting in front of the food truck.
Looks nicely.
The pizza
taquitos.
The pizza taquitos.
I had them.
Me too.
They were awesome.
I had a buddy who had the burger who said it was very good as well.
I had the chicken sandwich. It was good. And then I got the mac fries, the mac poutine.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Piece together what that is. That sounds delicious.
I doubled down on it. It was good.
That is very good. And you washed it down with an ice cold Bud Light from our friends at Labatt Canada. We got some, what do you got? Little buckets of Bud Light that we bring around. And
I love buckets of beer.
Use as a reward.
I'm a child. I'll never get tired or sick or too mature for a bucket of beer.
100%. Crazy is in and says Oilers win, dry goal, Kane over 2.5 shots, +500. Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I don't hate that one at all. All right, giddy up. Sherwood 4 Giant Game Day edition of the show. A must-win Giant Game Day edition of the show. 8:20 puck drop tonight between the Oilers and Golden Knights. Connor Halley going live with ON After Dark immediately following the game. So make sure you hit the like button here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the post-game show. Score prediction, gents.
5-1 Oilers.
That just seems to be what we do. I really want to think about this. I think it's going to be a little bit. I'm going to be bag milk here. It's going to be 4-2.
5 for the Oilers. This many for the Vegas Golden Knights. Let's go, Oilers. Thanks for tuning in to ON Every Day. Live from Greta, downtown Edmonton. We'll be back to break it all down tomorrow at noon Mountain Time. See you then.